Education. May I have an approval of the agenda, please?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay.
Sorry.
Susan moved, Phil seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your right hand.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. I move we enter into executive session with Mr. Dorothy and Nate. Nate, is it Olert? Okay, I want to make sure I was pronouncing it right. I thought I was. With Mr. Dorothy and Mr. Olert to discuss negotiation items for the current or next school year, 22-23 school year. Yes. Gosh, pursuant to the exception for employer-employee negotiations under COMA, and the open meeting will resume back out here in the library at 7:31 p.m.
7:30.
No.
Oh, 6:41, wrong math. 6:41 p.m.
Be a late.
Pardon me. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Megan.
table up that
Yeah,
conversation.
you should have just stayed by.
I move we enter into executive session with Mr. Dorothy and Mr. Oler to discuss negotiation items pursuant to the exception for employer-employee negotiations under COMA, and the open meeting will resume at 6:51.
Got it.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Derek, I will find that email.
I move we enter into executive session with Mr. Dorothy to discuss student matter for the Intermediate Center, to discuss an individual student issue pursuant to the exception relating to actions affecting a student under coma, and the open meeting will resume at 7 p.m.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
7-0, bless you. All right.
Motion carries. Bill seconded.
Got it. You said 7? No.
So like, I don't see a picture, I will have her house all the time.
I move we enter into executive session with Mr. Dorothy and Mr. Brittingham to discuss hold on here. Mr. Brittingham to discuss a student matter for Baldwin High School. This motion would be the exemption to discuss a student issue pursuant to the exemption relating to actions affecting a student under coma, and the open meeting will resume at 7:10.
Second.
All those in favor? 7-0. Principals want to point out, this is the time to do that. This is new. So if there's something coming up and you want to let people know, you're welcome to do so. I will add, just to buy them some time, our next listening session, board listening session, is in May, before the May board meeting. So that's something you can put on your calendars if you would like to come talk about something. There will be 3 board members, no more than 3, there for a listening session. Any other announcements principals want to add? You're welcome to. And if not, that's okay too. Okay. Okay. Yes, no? Do it.
In the spirit of
Yes.
what you're.
Yes.
So the 27th, that's next Wednesday, correct? We will host a dual credit night at 6 o'clock in the cafeteria at the high school. What our dual credit night is, we come in mainly student support services and speak to the opportunities our students will have to take courses outside through our partnerships with like Neosho County, Allen County, Peasley Tech, Washburn Tech, Johnson County. And so what they do is they get individuals to come in and basically they can visit with parents as to what they have to offer. And so we just, my site council said they want us to do a better job getting that information out to parents. And we wanted to try and coincide it with parent-teacher conferences, student-led conferences. The reason that we do not is because now's the time when colleges are coming out with what they have the ability to offer in the fall, right? So if we had that information to parents in February, they wouldn't be getting the full story. They wouldn't be able to actually see what those offer. And so we have a lot of things that we have the ability to offer. Again, we want to make that known so that people have the ability to come in and talk with our counselors, and then obviously talk with those colleges.
Awesome. Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Bland?
Just a couple quick things to mention. We have at the junior high coming up this week on Wednesday, we have our site council meeting. We're always happy to have any guests who would like to come and join us for that. And then second, May 4th, Star Wars Day, we actually have Bike to School Day for our students, and we'll be doing that in partnership with Live Well Douglas County, which is a group that we work with to promote healthy living. And we do a walk to school day. We also do a bike to school day. So that'll be coming up on May 4th. That's all.
Awesome. Thank you. Dr. Elenwood?
So April 19th at 6 o'clock in the Blue Pod, we have another kindergarten readiness event. April 27th at 4 o'clock in Sullivan Square, we have Art in the Park. That's a parents as teachers event. And another parents as teachers event, May 11th at 6 o'clock. At the primary center is an ice cream social. We are having a field day this year for kindergarten, first and second graders. That will be May 17th. And we're looking for volunteers. And just so everyone knows, we have early childhood play groups at 9:30 on Tuesdays in the Blue Pod. Lots of fun. If you want to just come and join in the play with kids, that'd be great. Otherwise, your kids might be a little bit too old.
Never.
Be there,
All right. Anybody else?
especially your field day.
Great. Well, we have received feedback as part of those surveys that folks are filling out, just different ways that we can be more responsive to communication. So thank you, principals. This is the first night that this new thing is added to the agenda. It will be there every month. So if there's something you want people to know about, it's yet another opportunity in addition to all the other ways I know you're trying to communicate to get it out there. So thanks for that. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Is there a second? Thank you. Phil moved and Tony seconded. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, please say aye. Raise your right hand. All right. Motion carries 7-0. So I told Mr. Dorothy today, do we have a carpal tunnel therapy plan? And what a great problem to have. It doesn't even count all the time that Megan spends printing and organizing all of this for us. But we have a lot of recognitions tonight, which is a great thing. We'll start with Claire Watkins. Are you here from the Intermediate Center? And Mr. Walsmith, if you would want to come forward too. So Claire is being recognized for a couple of different things, and both of them are awesome. The first one is that Claire is the Math Bee champion. So that is really awesome. So she gets a certificate for that as the 2022 Elementary Math Bee champion. So good job. All right, and 1 + 1 is 2. I can do that math, right? She's also the state winner of the Missing Children's Poster Contest. So very cool that you're doing both math and art. That's just awesome. And to get both of those things in 1 year is especially cool. I'm going to read that part to you, and then everybody's going to clap for you, okay? Okay. All right. The Baldwin City Board of Education of USD 348 supports and promotes excellence in all school activities. So on this day, April 18th, the Board of Education would like to recognize and congratulate Claire Watkins for winning both the Missing Children's Poster Contest and the Math Bee Championship. Congratulations, everybody. All right, the next one is Mr. Ising here by any chance? That's okay if not. So this one we were going to do on another month. This is the Kansas Kid Wind Challenge. And Dr. Craig Hare made sure and brought that to my attention so that we could recognize that as well. If those students who were involved would like to come up, and then as you line up, I will present your certificates to you. How do you feel about public speaking? It's okay. So can you, so this was a new thing that these kids got involved with. Can you describe a little bit what you did at this challenge? Because it involved kind of some engineering and some different aspects. Would you be comfortable giving just like a brief little summary of what you guys did?
Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
So our goal was to create a perfect windmill turbine, and we had different varieties. We watched how many numbers of blades, the angle of the blades, and then we tried different things and created a good wind turbine. And
Very
then we
cool.
went to regionals and state.
Regionals and state. So this is really awesome because these are environmental solutions, basically in a nutshell. And then we had kids that were not only interested enough to get involved in it, but then also compete with that. So I'm going to make sure, I'm going to read all of the names because I want to make sure all the kids are recognized, whether they were able to be here or not. Sarah Hafner, Gabriella McBride. Did I say that right? Okay. Gabriella McBride, Gabby. Abby Patterson, Micah Reynolds, Sophie Baker. So the group that I just announced placed third at the challenge. So that was that group of kiddos. This next stack are the second place finishers. This included Sophie Baker, Jennifer Everhart, Jada New, Anna Shaw. Is Anna here? Oh, there's Ann, who's right in front of me. I'm like, yeah, because you're getting recognized for more than one thing. There you go. Tatum Davidson. And then for the first place finish, did I get that right? Nope, I already messed up. Those were all the second place finishers. Yes. The first place finishers included, I misspoke, Tatum Davidson, Sarah Hafner again, Leonie Klingbeil, there you are, Wesley Martin, and Dayton Peterson. Those were our first place finishers. So the Baldwins, thank you girls for being here tonight. We're going to clap for you, okay? Could you get those to Thank you. Perfect. Okay. So you're going to see some repeat folks here. This next recognition was really excited to do because we've had a number of foreign exchange students come and live with and among us this year. And if you guys would like to go ahead and come up, and also your host families, I would love it if you all, if you're comfortable, I'd love it if you would all come up. So the really neat thing about having foreign exchange students be a part of our community while they're here, it isn't just the opportunities that they get to have, and I will say with this group of individuals, there we go, get all in your family cohorts. There you go. They all, yes. What I think as from a school district standpoint, I hope that you all have felt welcomed here and a part of things. And I know that you girls have been extremely active. You're not just here to take classes. You've been in the musical, you've been in cheerleading, you've been on dance team, you've done so many things, soccer, various sports. I mean, you guys have really jumped all in to be a part of this entire community. It makes me emotional. And I'm really lucky that I've gotten the chance to work with you and get to know you over that time. But in addition to the opportunities that I'm so glad that you all have had by being here, we are enriched by the experience of having had you here. Our students have the opportunity to learn about different cultures, where you're from, whether it's Ecuador or Italy or Germany, wherever it may be. Our teachers have an opportunity to learn. The families that you stay with who feel you will be, I'm sure, considered one of their own forever, not just for this time that you've been here. But it really is a privilege to have you here in our community, and I hope that you feel like Baldwin City will always be, and USD 348 will always be a part of your home and your community. And so we wanted to do a special recognition to recognize and congratulate the academic excellence that you all have demonstrated while being here and the engagement in USD 348 schools and our community. And so I want to make sure, and we'll do a big applause line for each of you. But Melanie, you're going to have to help me. This, again, you're educating me. Melanie, is it Anahai? Anahi. And then Chacha? Arki. Okay. Melanie.
Martina Brown, there you are.
Leonie Sophie Klingbeil. I have to tell a funny story about you. And if you just think about the courage these people have to come here. Poor Leonie's first experience here was as a cross-country runner. And if you know anything about cross-country, there's an initiation that's involved whereby anybody new, whether they're freshmen, if it's your first year running, people come and get you in the middle of the night. And they take you for a run and a breakfast. And was it your first night here or second night?
It was my first night.
It was your very first. Can you imagine being in a new country, in a new host home, being awakened? Now, please know that all of this is above board. Parents and host families are contacted in advance. People don't actually break into people's homes. It's all set up, but the student doesn't know it. Can you imagine being Leonie from Germany, being awakened? But what a great sport you were about it, and as you all have been. So thank you again for being part of our community, and we promote and support excellence in all forms, and that includes the four of you. So thank you so much. Oh, you got a picture. Great. Okay, I want to make sure we didn't miss the photo. Thanks, guys. Okay. Why I'm going back and forth. Okay. Big stack here. Is Mr. Harris here by any chance? That's okay. Okay. KSPA Regional Journalism Placers. This is just an awesome stack. I'm going to, I tried to sort these based on what type of entry it was, and then they're alphabetized in that order. So I'll call names. If you're here, come on up and we'll give you a certificate. And if they're not here, we'll make sure those get to Mr. Harris. But this is for KSPA Regional Journalism Placer. The first one is Cheney Barth. If Charlize will accept on her behalf. Clara Bates. Avery Bergen. I'll see Miss Avery. Gracie Bryan. Bryden Butel. Zoe Crump. Jennifer Eberhardt. Jocelyn Higgins. Olivia Hoagland. Michaela Michael. Kate Nichols. Ellie Pittman. Nora Prather, Bailey Smith, well, she's got no excuses, Liz Underwood, and Allison Williams. All of these regional journalism placer, one more, Macy Lynn Wolf. So I'm going to go ahead and read the certificate, and we're going to still clap for them even though they're not here because they've all done really good work. The Baldwin City Board of Education of USD 348 supports and promotes excellence in all school activities. On this day, April 18th, the Board of Education recognizes and congratulates the aforementioned, and let's give them a round of applause. More journalism stuff, thank you, but different category. This is the KSPA Regional Journalism Video News, and I'll present those in the order of placing. Caitlin Bass received 4th place. Braden Chappelle also received 4th place. Dylan Miller received 3rd place. Again, this is journalism video news. Lauren Berg received 2nd place. Malin Harris received 2nd place. Emily Hullum received 2nd place. And Gracie Trendle also received 2nd place. This is, again, regional journalism video news. The Baldwin City Board of Education of USD 348 supports and promotes excellence in all school activities, including regional journalism video news. And so we recognize and congratulate all the aforementioned. Let's give them a round of applause. More journalism. This is in journalism video for PSA, public service announcements. We had a 5th place finisher with Kylie Montney and another 5th place finisher with Maddie Skinner. We'll get those to those and we'll combine these. This category was for also journalism video, PSA. This was a 2nd place finish from Maddox Shore and Jaden Solomon and Dane Warmuskirken. Am I saying that right? Yes. Okay, I practiced because I don't like to mess up people's names. So that they were all high placers for the regional journalism video PSA. And then we have more. Gus Boyle, this is for regional journalism video sports promo. So different category completely. Gus Boyle received a 4th place finish on that, as did Dylan Kuntz. A 3rd place finisher in the video sports promo category was Caitlin Bass. Also Braden Chappelle with a 3rd place finish. And now I'm going to go ahead. This is the final category of this. These were combined categories, so these are especially special. This was KSPA Regional Journalism Video PSA 3rd place finish, and also video sports promo 1st place. So these were dual placers for these next few that I'm going to read. And so this first one with the 3rd place finish in one and 1st place finish in the other was Miss Lauren Berg. Malin Harris also, same category, 3rd place finish with journalism video, 1st place for video sports promo. Malin Harris, same exact thing, Emily Hullum. And last but not least, Gracie Trendle. So they dual placed. So a lot of different categories, and we had a lot of success from our students. So the Baldwin City Board of Education of USD 348 supports and promotes excellence in all school activities. So on this day, we recognize and congratulate all of the aforementioned. All right, moving on to the next category is Sheila Vander Tweed here. Is she here? Where's she? Oh, I'm looking at her. Sorry, hiding on purpose. I promise I won't make it terribly painful. Thank you. So we wanted to really recognize Sheila for your ongoing work in the district, but also she was highlighted in a really neat article. But I'm sure you shared it all over the place and put a banner up. No, you didn't. But it highlighted the work that Sheila does. And Sheila, I don't want to put you too much on the spot, but is there anything you would like to share about what you enjoy about the work that you do, or anything you would like people to know that maybe they don't otherwise know about the work that you do?
I would say most people don't know what I do.
Right.
I work in special education. I work in 3 school districts, so Baldwin, Eudora, and Wellsville. And I'm a transition and vocational coordinator. And what that kind of boils down to is helping a student when they're leaving high school with whatever they're wanting to do. So a student that maybe is going to go to college, what college resources can they access? A student that needs supports, how do those families access those supports? What kind of waiting lists are out there? Connecting and coordinating, that sort of thing. Students that work in jobs through special ed, helping, find that placement, whatever they want to do, helping with job coaching, training job coaches to, support them on the job, and all other duties as assigned.
As assigned, yeah. Well, and we did want to shine a special light on that because not only were you recognized with that beautiful article, but the work that you do doesn't always get some of the same types of attention. And it's not on purpose. It's just kind of the reality sometimes of special education. But that matters in this district, along with all the other types of education that we do. So we wanted to take a special opportunity to shine a light on that and to thank you for the work that you do. And so the Baldwin City Board of Education of USD 348 supports and promotes excellence in all school activities. So on this day, April 18th, we would like to recognize, congratulate, and I might add thank you, Sheila, as being an exceptional educator that was recognized for the Council for Exceptional Children. Congratulations.
Okay, the next recognition is for Future Business Leaders of America, the Kansas State Conference. And I will go ahead, you guys can come on up, but for the first one for Future Business Leaders of America.
All right, first we have Ms. Charlize Clark. We have Kasaya Labunda. We have Maris Flory, Lucy Gardner, and Paige Sobrook. So would you guys like to say just a little bit about what you did? They're deferring to you, the president.
So we participated at State in Topeka at the Expo Center, and I think we all did tests, and then I did a video, but yeah, I don't know what else to speak about it.
I saw pictures. You guys all looked very professional. Did you have fun?
Yes.
Good. And so when you guys do things like that and succeed, it makes other students want to do it too. So let me read my little thing to you. The Baldwin City Board of Education of USD 348 supports and promotes excellence in all school activities. So I'm going to shake hands as I go. On this day, April 18th, the board, on behalf of us all, would like to celebrate, recognize, congratulate, see all of the above, the five of you for your work and your excellence. So let's give them a round of applause. I told Charlize to stay put because she's getting recognized in another category, which is the Family Career Community Leaders of America States Leadership Conference. All right. And Michaela. Michaela's out here from softball. Good. Okay. Like this zone now. Okay. So look how many of these there are. I'm trying to think of so many things. Okay. So Charlize, this is for you. Michaela, would you guys like to talk about what you did at this particular conference?
Sure.
You're a little sore.
Do you want me to do it? You guys.
I can do it.
She's got it.
So we competed at State at Wichita. I participated in the baking and pastry competition, and I ended up earning a third place bronze medal, and then
I did just the culinary arts competition, so I made like a main course, like dinner entree, and I got a silver.
Awesome. All right, so the Board of Education recognizes excellence of all forms. I'm going to paraphrase, okay? On this day, April 18th, 2022, we would like to recognize and congratulate both you, Charlize and Michaela. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I love it when maybe the bulk of our board meeting might be the recognitions. That's a single agenda item. Okay, last but not least, we have the educational program highlight moment. And with that, we are actually, it's kind of interesting that we ended with culinary. That's a nice segue into the Avant recognition that we're going to do. They had a big event. If you guys would like to go ahead and come on up. They had a really wonderful event to kick off their latest publication. Was that just last week or maybe 2 weeks ago?
last week.
Was it last week?
The 6th.
Okay.
Whatever that was.
Yeah, time flies. And they had live music, they had their magazines on display for disbursement, and the culinary class was also on display yet again. That culinary class, they're doing such awesome things and so many neat things for community outreach. But I see you brought magazines.
Yes, we did.
That is wonderful. Ruth, can you tell everybody what the Avant is?
Yes, so the Avant is a literary art magazine that we publish as a high school. It's completely done with submissions from students, and it's student-led with the help of Ginny and Sunflower Publishing. And so we just are really excited to share the art, both visual and literary, that our students put out. So.
That is wonderful. And you guys have a great team. I'm going to read all of these certificates because you have slightly different roles and responsibilities, and I want to make sure those are acknowledged. All right, but first and foremost, we have Jana Landreth. You're receiving this as part of the Avant Publishing Team, Art Editor. Yes. Ruth Steinschauer, Avant Publishing Team, Literary Editor. Wyatt Bathke, Avant Publishing Team and Marketing. Kaden Riley, Avant Publishing Team, Art Apprentice. I was not here. Kate Welch, Avant Publishing Team, Literary Apprentice. Also Sick Beats with the recycle wrap that were on display. That was awesome. And Eric Letter, Avant Publishing Team, Marketing Apprentice. All right. I would like to congratulate each of you. The Baldwin City Board of Education of USD 348 supports and promotes excellence in all school activities. On this day, April 18th, the board recognizes and congratulates each of you, including Kate and Riley, and send that along. Thank you for making this beautiful art form and enriching our community with that. We really appreciate it. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Eric, give me one. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Thanks everyone for coming. The last item in our recognition time is celebrating USD 348 student voices. That's a time that if students write letters of any kind, I didn't get any this month, but if they do, then I give a synopsis so that the board members can be aware of the topics and age levels of things that students are communicating about. So with that, we will move on to our next section, letter F, public comment. Do we have anybody signed up for that tonight? Okay. Moving on to financial report, 22-23 fees. Yeah. Totally understand.
At least we didn't know.
Yeah. All right. Yes, sir.
So
You have the floor.
Yeah, so we're just recommending that the fees just stay the same.
Okay. Board members have any questions? The recommendation is to keep the fees the same for the 22-23 school year.
Any thoughts on raising lunch fees? I know there's been some debate about.
We are waiting on numbers to come in.
Okay.
July 1st.
Okay, so it's hard to anticipate.
At this point.
Yeah, that's going to come late. It'll be in July. Normally, we would typically do that now.
Yeah.
But because of the changeover going back to paid meals again, we're not going to know fees, what the requirements are from the state and feds until July. And then we always set our price based on that. So not much we can do on that this early.
Does this include activities fees or?
Yes, user fees are in there, yes.
And I think we've kept them pretty steady.
We had a big increase last year. We had, well, I say, there was a 20 on one of them and 10 on the others, which is why this year we said, let's leave them flat this year.
So we would need a motion to approve that recommendation.
I would make that motion to approve the recommendation and keep fees flat.
Second. Tony moved and Susan has seconded to approve the fees as presented, staying flat. All those in favor, please say aye and raise your right hand. Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Sound system quotes.
Yes, so we've gotten 2 quotes. I'm gonna have Mike come up. He's gonna run over the numbers for us as far as the quotes.
Does anybody need a copy of the quote or the revised quote? Like Nate was saying, we've got 2 quotes. I sent out 3 or 4 requests. And these were just budgetary quotes. One from MSM and one from KCAV. KCAV, as I stated in my email, they're part of the state contract. So if we wanted to go with them, we wouldn't have to go through the bidding process. We had a good meeting with them. Tuesday, Kelly and I talked to Bobby and the sound engineer, I guess you call it, I don't recall his name. I felt real comfortable with them, and I think Kelly did too. We did discuss moving the Bluetooth receiver and adding a 3.5 plug-in to help with Bluetooth connectivity or lack thereof if something happens. I think this is the way to go. I think there's a very good possibility we can have it in this summer if we get something done soon. So, yeah, I'm just going to recommend that maybe we can vote on it and get it going. Any questions?
Kelly, you have some expertise in this area.
Well, yeah, and I'm passionate about this project. I feel a lot better after having the meeting, and all of our questions were answered. I had a really good feeling for Bobby and his team. I did have a follow-up conversation with a couple additional questions. I think one of the primary concerns we had is with the supply chain and the concern that we would accept this, get into August, and they had one reason. And so I don't know if you noticed in this last email that went out, we requested and they have agreed to include a temporary system, including 4 speakers and mics to get us through until the system can be, because if they don't get it in the summer, we're probably looking at maybe Christmas break or the next opportunity to get consecutive days in there. They've also agreed to, work with us on a few items here. If they end up not hitting the number, this seems to be the worst case scenario, and that could actually come in a little bit below it, so that's positive. With the changes that Mike's mentioned, I think I feel good about it.
Any other questions?
What did we budget for this particular project?
It was in about $30,000 in capital outlay.
And to answer the question, because we're over that amount, because of some other bids that we've had that have come under, I believe we're fine on capital outlay budget overall, which typically happens. We'll have some up, but then we'll have some to come in under. The key is trying to make sure that bottom line comes out in the black. So.
Yeah, and in a year with as complicated pricing as we've had, this is impressive to come anywhere within rough shot of that initial bid we made, or that budget we made back in July. So this is good news.
Well, one thing I will just add, from, we wanted a system that was more than just a PA system. And I kind of wanted to, fact check that to make sure that this was indeed that. And the only gray factor would be a potential, for ball games and the typical things that take place in there. But when you have the cheer and dance competitions, and you have some of these things where the music is an important part of the performance, the other bid came with a subwoofer option.
Yes.
This, we want to try without that to see if it's adequate, without spending the money up front. But that can be added to this system. It's going to be retrofitted to add to that, and that'd be another $4,000 or $5,000 in phase 2 down the road if we felt like that was missing or not adequate. But other than that, this is very good.
Great.
I gotta admit, I looked at these bids, and they could have been written in Mandarin. I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah, it's good to have expertise.
Well, right, yeah, absolutely.
Well, the first bid that we got from KCAB was just a generic, didn't have any of the components listed out in there. And once we talked to them, and I think they, they figured out we were serious, then they went ahead and gave us all the components and what they were looking at doing. And so.
Great. If there aren't any other questions, then if you're comfortable, we're either at a point where we would take more questions or put forward a motion to accept.
I'll make a motion that we accept KCAB's bid.
If you could put the dollar amount in there.
$43,166.
Thank you.
Second.
Kelly Neufeld has moved, and Chris has seconded. All those in favor of approving the bid as presented, please say aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mike. All right, administrative reports. Boys varsity basketball trip. Mr. Blanchett's going to talk to us about that.
So 2 things I'll come to you guys tonight to ask. Number 1, permission to take a group of students out of state. We plan to hopefully take a group to Colorado this summer to plan a tournament, 3rd week of June. And then the second one would be just the use of school vehicles. We'd pay for the gas and out of our fundraising budget, things like that. But so that's not to keep you any longer. That's the gist of it.
So,
if anybody has any questions,
so basically, no cost to the district, just
correct.
Approval to go.
And the use of the vans.
And use of the vans.
Yep, no cost to the district.
Okay.
Unless you want to pay the driver of one of the vans a little, a little say.
Tips accepted, right?
Absolutely.
Any questions for Mr. Blanchett about the trip or the usage of the
Yeah, where else the team's coming from? I mean,
So I looked at the last year, and there were teams from, there was a couple from, other ones from Kansas, but New Mexico, Utah, Wyoming, a lot from Colorado.
so regional, right?
Yeah, and they divided up by school size, so it'll be a nice fit for us. It's not like we're playing,
Does it be
10
the
for
whole
high school.
program or just the varsity?
Just a varsity group, yeah, so probably 8 to 10 students.
And this is a new program. We haven't done this in previous years.
Yeah. I mean, we've played, but we haven't left the state.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
That's great. Any other questions? I move we allow the boys basketball team to travel out of state to Colorado, 3rd week of June, and to have the usage of the school vans. Tony has seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. All right. Thank you. New course approval for Baldwin Junior High.
Good evening. At junior high, I think you guys are aware, and it's public, that we're having some turnover with our 8th grade ELA position. Mrs. Olson has, in addition to teaching English, taught a section of Spanish for us, Intro to Spanish. Our new hire, Ms. Wagner, does not speak Spanish, so that's not going to work for us. So we were looking at some different opportunities that we may have, and something that we identified as a need is our reading skills of our students and some comparing, contrasting type things. And what works well with that is a class called literature to film. Almost got that backwards. Literature to film. So we'll be reading text such as like Holes, which is a really popular one for our age group, the junior high, and then watching the film that coincides with it. So that's our goal at this point.
This will be available for 7th.
This would be primarily available to 7th graders, and this is because of the sizes of the different grades that we have. We needed that extra elective to be built into our schedule for the 7th grade next year.
Will the Spanish opportunity still be available through the high school?
To the high school, yes, but not in our building.
Okay.
And we'll continue to offer French at the high school as well. Anything you want to add?
That we are seeking approval of that tonight if we could, because that does impact being able to market it to students and get students to sign up for enrollment reasons.
I'll just say, I thought this was a very exciting. I think it's a great way to get students cross interests.
We were trying to figure out how to get an elective, an elective that they would be excited about, and I think you hit the nail on the head. That should pull some students into that type of an elective maybe we want to get normally.
Since I want to take this course, I'm going to make the motion. Literature to film for the 2022-23 school year.
Second.
Chris has moved and Kelly has seconded. All those in favor of approving the curriculum, new course approval as presented, please raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Chris up as a parent volunteer.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
Sixth grader next year.
His first assignment is to kill a mockingbird.
That's high school.
Well, you could have board member do graphic novel to major blockbuster movie. I'm just saying, it's best author.
I'm not sure that movie would work well.
We might need a release, but you know. Good point, Mr. Dorothy. Thanks for keeping me in line as always. Curriculum review.
Okay, so the next thing is we presented 3 different, this is like a curriculum map or a syllabus for 3 different curricular areas: industrial technology, history, government and social studies, and science at the junior high. So and I know these got uploaded fairly late, as in yesterday, or last night at some point, but we're not asking for approval right now. We'd like you to look over them for the next month, and then we'll ask for approval in May, so you do have some time to review everything. Industrial technology is basically the syllabus that Mr. Harmon's been using. We do want it to be officially board approved, so that we have that on file. That is a CTE course, so it also goes through a review every 2 years. So just to make sure that we're doing the industry standards in our CTE classes. The next one is the history, government, and social studies. This is for the elementary. The resource we'd like to use with that is Studies Weekly, and that's like the little newspapers. I think probably all been familiar with those over the years. They have updated quite a few things in there. We had 2nd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade were already using them, so we just want to make that across the board that kindergarten through 5th grade use them. So there is a consistent social studies resource that everyone's using. One of the things we liked about it is the lessons took like 15 to 30 minutes, so they're fairly quick, but everybody could have social studies content in their classroom. So all children would have that in a consistent format, so we're not going out to other resources and finding other things there.
And that's appropriate reading level, right?
Yes, it is. Actually, yeah, the resources that we looked at, it is a grade level appropriate, but then it also scaffolds it so it gets a little harder, progresses throughout the year, so they're kind of building on their reading skills. The other thing we looked at on that is the website has been updated and is going to be updated again this summer, but it has additional resources and like virtual field trips and things that kind of supplement. The teachers' lesson plans are there, videos are there at the upper grade levels, and also inserts into Google Classroom, so they have that ability as well. So there's some nice features with it. And then the science 6th through 8th grade, that is for the junior high science program. We want to use the resource OpenSciEd, and that is an open ed resource. It's free, but it's actually really, really good. It's based on science investigations. It looks at phenomena and how this impacts our world. So it's very problem-based, very project-based. It really gets kids into science. Because we would be using a free resource, then we want to put that money into the consumables and the things for kids to actually do the experiments and have hands-on science activities. So it does kind of change how science is taught. It's not the sit and get, let's learn about science, it's let's experience science. So we're really looking forward to that piece of it as well. So if you could take a look at those, and then we'll be back in May and ask for approval of those, and I will probably have 2 other ones to start looking at in May for a June approval.
Awesome.
So thank you.
Thank you
very much. Let me know if you have any
much.
questions over those.
Thank you. Legal representation. So this is an annual thing that we have to do with.
You don't have to.
Well, we don't have to, sorry. It comes, the opportunity to visit it, so.
Right. Well, if you think about what we get for what we're putting in here, it gets to be almost unlimited amount of time of calling and getting, not free, but legal advice from KASB, the guys that know how all this works. That's basically, and each year they like us to approve this agreement to continue to work with them on that. Most certainly there are times for them, and then most certainly there are times for Stevens and Brands with Brad Fingerby, depending on what the issue is. So anyway, I'm asking if the board would approve the contract that they give us each year, so that we're legal for legal advice.
I move we approve the contract with the ASB Legal.
Second.
Susan has moved and Tony has seconded that we approve the contract with the KSB Legal Assistance Fund. All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your right hand. Aye. Motion carries 7-0. All right, at this time, I'm going to call about a 5-minute recess for restroom break so that we can come back to old business after having a chance to take a little break. Okay? So like 5 minutes, let's start back, try to be back around 8-ish.
I sure hope they don't do that before we complete the end of this year. I hope.
No, because I did not do a good enough job of thinking ahead, because I worked until 5:15 and then just came, well, I got done a little bit early, so I was here a little bit before that, but no, I went straight from classes to here. Didn't think that far ahead. Okay, everyone's here? Okay. We'll go ahead and call the meeting back to order and come back to old business. First thing on the list is a strategic plan.
So I just wanted to kind of give a bit of an update on where we're at with things. Actually, we are scheduled for a meeting with Michael Kuntz, that's the district leadership and the administrators in the district, to go through and do the red, yellow, green, as Michael talked to you. We're scheduled to do that Wednesday. Okay. I had hoped maybe we could get it in before tonight, but we just couldn't get it scheduled any sooner. So we will be doing that Wednesday and should be working on that and hopefully get to a point where we're getting you a document that fills that in for you from our wing of things. So we had kind of gotten to that point on the strategic plan. I still feel very confident that we're going to target May to have this thing pretty well done. That doesn't mean there won't be a few tweaks on it, but I'd love to have this thing ready to go in May. We were just talking today at District Site Council about our future cycle, 5-year cycle coming up for KISA. And so it would be very nice to have that strategic plan in place, ready to go as we make those decisions and setting goals moving into that. So May's a great time to have that done. It'll make moving into the next few months with change in leadership to have that in place. It'll make decision making a lot better, easier for you guys, and provide direction when you come in and have your discussions at your meetings and say, hey, strategic plan says we need to be doing this. How does that match into this? So it all helps and goes together. So anyway, that's where we're at. We will get that done on Wednesday. We'll at least go through our discussion with him on that work, and I'm confident we're going to meet our deadline of May for that part of it.
The data, the messaging that we had asked for that to be sort of consolidated, and Michael was going to put that together. Have you heard anything from him on that, or do you think he'll touch base on Wednesday?
I think on Wednesday that's part of what we're going to discuss, yes.
Good. Okay. So that basically means they're still working on themes 1 through 3. And as a board, we're going to come back and look at all of that and take the 30,000 view of all of that. But we were sort of charged with being a little more specific on theme 4. And this is sort of where items number 1 and 2 under this agenda item kind of dovetail with some updates about that. Because really, we don't want to fall into the danger of putting the cart in front of the horse. So I met with Mr. Dorothy and Mr. Dodge this past week about the idea of assembling a committee. We still want to do that, but the thinking on that has shifted a little bit, so I wanted to report that back to you guys along with the reasons why. A bond issue, a potential bond issue, is really an action plan that comes out of priorities that have been identified as part of a strategic plan. So from a procedural standpoint, it really makes more sense for us to kind of establish what that means for us under theme 4. And there were some suggestions about that were brought up that I did want to make sure and bring back to you guys. Examples of that would be in terms of our facilities, having an actual professional needs-based assessment done about our facilities, where experts can be, just like what we've done with the Greenbush, utilizing Greenbush to do the strategic plan survey gathering that we want, kind of mirroring that and doing the same thing with people who know that with facilities, so that we have this, everything is being data driven. Because as we know, different cohorts will have very strong opinions about what should be addressed first. But as a school board, we want to make sure that even though, would I personally love to have lights in a certain location? Of course. But we want to make sure that we're hearing the needs from the entirety of the district and then prioritizing those accordingly. So having a professional needs-based assessment conducted might be something that we might want to establish as a priority. Another thing is an annual tour of the facilities. This was suggested by Mr. Dodge. And we've all heard from staff how much they want to see school board members in their buildings, and I know that's really hard for everybody to do. However, if it's a special meeting, and that's just how we do one of our special meetings, and we are touring all the facilities and seeing all those things with our own eyes as a part of our annual procedure, that seems like a really smart thing to do that, again, is more in line with themes or overarching outcomes associated with strategic plan than with a potential bond issue coming from that. But, now, I don't say that to put the brakes on any of that, quite the opposite. As Mr. Dorothy advised, and I'm glad he did, because that wasn't quite our thinking that we came out of, so I don't want you guys to think I didn't do what you charged me to do in terms of putting together a committee in of itself right this moment. But with the idea of professionalizing the needs-based assessment and having, potential architect firms say, here's what we think you need. Here is the type of committee with these types of stakeholders that would serve your district. And then we would still be appointing those people, but again, underneath an umbrella of professionalism and process for people who do this for a living. So I wanted to report back to you that a committee has not been assembled, and it's not because we're unwilling to do that, but we thought that this might be a more professional and prudent way to go about that. So I'm kind of flipping it around in a different way to present to you guys. If that's something that would be of interest, we do need to go ahead and round out what we want that theme 4 of our strategic plan to look like. That's part 1. Part 2, if since we do see a bond issue as a potential action item, the next logical step, as Mr. Dorothy was explaining it, would be to use someone like DLR, or if you guys want to interview, a couple of other groups along that type and say, hey, come in here and walk us through what this process would look like. And then we put them to work. Now, they don't make anything as a part of that. And then they can present, here's what we can do for you. Here's how we can get the information that you need. Here's the timeline. Can you speak more to that part? Because you have more experience about that, but I wanted to report back to them because I didn't do my homework as it was assigned, and I wanted you to know the reason why.
So after thinking that through, right now, theme 4 has a lot of things in there. Most certainly, if you're going to move forward with some sort of bond or something in action to take care of goals under that category, you need to have a nice facility plan analysis for moving forward. An architect firm are the professionals in sitting down with you or a committee and walking through what all needs to be looked at so that you can get something whittled down to what you actually want in the end. Most certainly the board is the final step on that, but you involve community members. You need to have community buy-in if something is going to move forward. So you try to get that down to what that really is that's needed. They have all sorts of ways to assess that. Community surveys, committee working, board member input into that. But now is the time to get that architect involved up front and let them run that for you instead of us or a committee or something to do that, because they're the professionals. This is always the first step in doing what some of them call a 15-year plan, facilities plan in the district. So there's the question. I mean, that's my recommendation, is that you get them involved. Is there time? Yes, I believe there's time. Remember, your goal, according to Dustin, is to be ready to say, here's what we'd want to do in January of 23. So you got a little bit of time, but you got to go. in order to make this work. And I think you can. I think you have time to get it done. I just want you to be able to do it the right way. So part of the question is, DLR has been the architect firm that we have worked with for a number of years. They did the additions like the new elementary school and so on. With that, they've been here a while. Boards, what they would know is what we've done so far. They would have history and that kind of thing. There are other people out there that do this, though. So I do want the board to say DLR and let's keep rolling, or let's take a look at some others and have them come in here. What we did the last time, Andy can tell you, he sat through that. I think we had 3 different architect firms came in. One of those was DLR at that time. They came in, they made a presentation. One night was a special meeting. We gave each one of them 30 minutes, I think, to do their presentation. We kind of gave them some guidance about what the board wanted. And then at the end of that meeting, after they had all moved out the door, they all know one another, so they're passing one another, going as one group leaves, the other one comes in. And then in the end, the board said, here's who we like and why. And then, because it's not a bid process, they're a service, so it's, the other part of that is they make nothing really, except maybe a few little expenses. They make nothing unless a bond passes, but they sure as heck are motivated to help you get there if they can with what you feel you need to do that. They're also very good at that part of it, helping you, getting grassroots things going to help with that. So that's why I say we need to get them involved early if you guys want to get moving on this. But it'll give you a full picture of facilities, which I think that's theme 4, is you're talking about facilities overall. So we had talked about this, and Mr. Dodge and I sat down with Kelly, and I just felt like this was the step that should happen right now so that we can move forward correctly and smoothly as we can to decide what's the best way forward. It'll provide you guys with the best information in the long run. And really your timing is still really good for them to come in and do that. So anyway, so here's the question. Would you like to continue with DLR? I did do a question of a few of the league superintendents and say, who did you use? I know Eudora used DLR, still does. I asked Tonganoxie because they just finished a nice big project, or they're still in the process of that one. That's a DLR project also. I did ask Ottawa, but Ryan had not gotten back with me yet. I most certainly can get answers from some of the others. But there are other firms out there that can do similar things. It's just where do you guys want to go with that?
I would say 2 things based on my experience. One, I think it's probably good to do our due diligence and see the dog and pony shows and get a look at some different offerings. And 2, I can speak pretty sure for the entire board at the end of our last process that we were all satisfied with DLR's services. I can also say, as somebody who came in after the bond before that, but still with the group of people who was involved in that bond and with the fallout of those projects, that there was pretty universally not completely satisfied with that. And they did come in and present. I didn't get the guy coming in and presenting. Apparently we stubbed our toe a little bit last time. We totally want to make that. You know, I don't know that we need to involve that again. I don't remember the name. Paul, you'll have to.
I'd have to go back and look.
They're probably on that sign.
Yeah, they probably are. That's probably true.
I will add that I like that approach as well. And I know that like Olathe, Blue Valley, both use a Kansas City company, Hollis and Miller.
Hollis and Miller.
So that's a big one in the area that's
Yes.
regionally.
Hollis and Miller presented 15. They were one of the ones that presented that night.
And then, I don't know who's doing the project, but I know the project in Base Linwood is very, it's going very well. I'll put it that way. I'm not sure which company is managing that part of it, but the project is ahead of schedule and problem solving across the board as they have construction in there. So whoever's, it may be worthwhile contacting based on to see who their architect company is.
Okay.
Does everybody agree that they would like to hear from 3 and then see which one we like best? Okay. Okay, that's a comfort level.
So I will see if I can get some more recommendations on some that they've been happy with, and see if I can get 3 of them to come in. I'm assuming one of those is DLR. Is that the message I got? Okay. The DLR would be here, and then a couple others. Yeah. So we'll look at what we've got on that. We'll set up a special meeting soon, fairly soon, where we'll come in and just have them come in and kind of give them a guideline of here's what we'd like to hear up front, and then give them a chance. And then the board, as I said, it's not a bid process, so you can choose who you like from their presentation, or from their references. All of them will walk in here with references of building schools, other places. So, okay, good.
Okay, so you got what you need on that?
I do.
As for finishing out theme 4, let's talk about that a little bit. And I don't think we have to write it, but what I would like to ask is if a couple of board members are willing to work on that in the interim based on the discussion that we do have. This doesn't need to be a 50-minute exercise by any means, but I think that might be the most efficient way of us really thinking about how the priorities that we want to bring out based on the feedback that we were given, specifically just for that theme 4. I'll throw out a couple of things that just to get things firing. I think that the long-term planning part, we're kind of covering that, but I do think the annual tour, where we are going and making it a priority to, as a board, tour all of our facilities on an annual basis is both responsive and proactive. The other thing I'd like us to think about as part of our theme 4 strategic plan is stewardship of the things we currently have. Do we have, for example, are there things that need board support as far as, and I confess I don't know how this actually works, but like filling out a trouble ticket, that's what you do when you want something in the tech world, you fill out a trouble ticket. I don't know if we have something similar here, but I wonder if things like that would help streamline. If there's, I don't know, a porta potty that's out of function, how does somebody know about that? Making sure our communication systems are strong when it comes to identifying, because not everybody is in every part of the district. You don't know about this fence that's broken or whatever. I know that those things get to folks eventually, but are there more efficient ways of doing that so that we can be even better stewards of the things that we have? And then recognizing when things get fixed. I don't think I've done a good enough job. Like, we're handing out all these certificates, but our new shed, it looks nice over by the high school. It's been painted purple, and the insides of the bathrooms have been painted, and it's nice, and it's something that we have. It's not the best, but it looks like it's cared for now, and I appreciate that. And we have to find, we have to find better ways to say good job when stuff gets fixed, because we make all of our things last longer when we do. So the stewardship aspect would be something that I would like to see in a theme. How we think about security, to me, that's part of our facilities and should be a part of any strategic plan wording. Those are just some starting points. If anybody else has things they want to think about, are there 2 board members that feel passionate about consolidating this information and bringing something back? I would be happy to be one of those 2 if someone would like to help.
I'll join you, Kelly.
Really?
Yeah,
Thanks.
that sounds like a real fun time.
Okay, does this sound like the best time? Okay, so that we don't linger on, because I know we all process at different rates. In the area specifically of theme 4 facilities, if you have thoughts about, really want to see this as something that's prioritized, will you please send that to Chris and I so that we can work something up to bring back to you all at the May meeting? Cool? Okay, then we don't need to linger. All right, new business, bike grant.
Okay,
Okay,
you guys
so
go ahead.
we're here to seek your approval for entering an MOU for a bike grant through Live Well Douglas County, who I referenced earlier this evening when promoting their Bike to School Day. So I'm going to let our coach Ingeman talk a little bit about what the bike grant would do for our students and how she would implement that.
Well, thank you for your time on this matter. I have been working.
And you are?
I'm Crystal Ingeman,
Thank you.
PE
I know
teacher at the
that.
junior high.
I want to make sure they know that.
Sorry. I have been meeting with a lady by the name of Laura McCullough the past several months. She works for Lawrence Douglas County Public Health and has kind of been the one to help us move this along. In those meetings with her, I've also got to meet with an elementary teacher from Lawrence and a high school teacher from Eudora that completed these grants in years past and are currently implementing the bike program in their lessons and throughout the year. And then I have also got to meet with Jeff Carroll. He's the owner of Ottawa Bike and Trail to help get some estimates on bikes and the things that we would need to be able to do this curriculum. I believe you guys have received the estimate, and as you can see, it's a lot of money. Laura kind of explained to me that the money that this grant provides up to $300,000 in funding to support partners and organizations in implementing programs, policies, and activities that address the three major risk factors for chronic diseases, which are physical inactivity, poor nutrition, and tobacco use. So these funds are made available to organizations that complete pledges and agreements and complete an application. She said, basically, the money has kind of been already allocated for us. We just kind of need your guys' approval on that. And how much we receive, I mean, we might not receive the full amount to cover. So then we would kind of have to decide if we need to get fewer bikes or how we need to adjust that. But I intend to complete this 1-week biking curriculum 14 times throughout the school year, each quarter with my 6th grade classes, and then once a semester with each of my other classes. And the biking curriculum comes to us through Be Active Safe Routes through Douglas County. Some examples of lessons include checking tires and brakes, proper fit of a helmet, signaling, balancing, braking, riding a straight line, going around corners. The students would have a skills assessment and then a post-assessment at the end of the week. And I anticipate most of these things happening maybe around the track. Most of the lessons, we can use the lanes to work on that, riding on the lines, that sort of thing. So
I'm going to jump in a little bit. We've talked about in the grant trying to get a trailer so that if we wanted to say, hey, let's go to Clinton for the day and take or a trailer of 30 bicycles out there and they go put their lunch 5 miles away and have them go riding for lunch or something. But make a destination ride of some sort out of it. I think anytime you drive between here and Lawrence, you're bound to come across on a nice day a bicyclist. So it'd be good to get them the basics of bicycle safety and good healthy living in general.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's what we're seeking your approval for tonight. Do you have questions for us about any part of the grant?
I just have a question. Would this overlap or be incorporated with, I think, the PC and IC? We're talking about getting bikes for their use as well.
This would be a separate grant. So there is some overlay, lots of the same people and same organizations, but this would be its own deal.
And basically, because these are larger bikes that will fit the junior high students, and the bikes for that would be much smaller. So.
And we did talk about it at the primary center and intermediate center, but the schedule doesn't necessarily allow it because they have PE one day a week, just because of the special schedule. So it's not like a consistent, I have it for a semester, I have it for a quarter. So it just wouldn't really fit in to be able to do a whole IP unit to justify the cost of the work to go into a grant. Just decided, they do bike safety and stuff like that, but just decided it's probably better to have the whole bike unit at junior high.
Any other questions?
Just to reinforce this request, I mean, I know we talked about it at the site council meeting probably this fall sometime with the junior. I mean, so it's been a topic of discussion. I think there's a lot of interest from families of getting their kids a little bit more safe on bicycles when they're out in the community at large. So I think that would be a well-utilized grant.
So do we need to give a motion for approval
We
to
need a
proceed?
motion to approve going forward with the grant so that they could go ahead and get this applied for.
Okay. I move we provide approval to proceed forward with the grant at the junior high for the new bike program.
Thank you.
All those in favor? All right, motion
Thank
carries
you so
7-0.
much.
Thank you
Appreciate
for
it.
coming. All right, employee wellness program. Lisa Patrick's going to talk to us about that.
Hello. So I just wanted to give you an update on where we're at with our employee wellness program. We met in March, the committee did. We went over the Kansas school wellness policy guidelines that we're required to do every year. We did that at the beginning, and then we spent a little over 2 hours just kind of talking about what we wanted our employee wellness program to look like, with lots of good ideas. I think we were all in total agreement that, our staff's just overdue in having a wellness program for physical, mental wellness, as well as staff morale and staff retention. So we talked with Mr. Dodge. We got the okay from him that this would be something that he's ready to look into for the next school year. It's a large committee, very energetic and driven bunch. We have at least 2 wellness champions for each building, and they all kind of got together and decided each building, the wellness champions in each building would take a quarter, develop a challenge. I would love to be able to tell you what those are, but I think they must be top secret. Nobody is spilling the beans on any of it. So yeah, we'll all just have to stay tuned for what those challenges are. But we've already started getting a lot of incentives. We do have a kickoff challenge in May to kind of get everybody geared up for it for next year. And the PC champions are putting that one on, and we've got the incentives taken care of for that. So Blue Cross Blue Shield, their wellness dashboard is called Strive. There's an entry level that's available now to all employees. They can get on there and look into. There's lots of great information, great resources. I think you can even set up to have your phone ping once a day to remind you, to do some sort of activity or drink water, or, I think there's just a gamut of things on there. Then their next level of the dashboard just allows for points to be earned by submitting dental appointments, vision appointments, having had a physical exam within the last 6 months, and then you can accumulate those points and other points to be able to get incentives like time off, premium reductions, cash, and that's something that's decided and approved by the district and the board, whenever we reach that point. The coordinator with Blue Cross and Blue Shield suggested that we wait until year 2 for that and just kind of see how year 1 goes. But I mentioned this is a very driven committee, and they all wanted to know why we have to wait. So I feel like that's coming. We have another meeting in a couple of weeks. We're all doing a Zoom meeting then. So I feel like that's going to be on the plate again, is could we get that going? And I talked with Jane with Blue Cross Blue Shield, and she said, if you guys feel like you're up to it and, your superintendent and your board is in agreement, we can go ahead and do it now. So they also mentioned that they're in the process and about to complete a program that can also apply to employees that don't have the district's insurance. So they'd still be able to participate. And get some of those incentives too. So, okay. Any questions?
I don't have any questions, but because this came up at the meeting, Mr. Dorothy, can I put you on the spot because it is like a sibling with the EAP program. Some of the feedback that came through the wellness committee was how there needs to be more knowledge among staff about the EAP program that we already have. And I know there's ideas from the wellness committee about how to help that, but since we're talking about it, could you just do a quick plug now for what services are already available? I mean, not just the ones, obviously, that will be expanded upon with the specific wellness program, but the EAP is so closely related to that. Could you say just a little something about that?
We're our employee assistance program we've had for a while. It is utilized, but probably not near as much as employees ought to think about it, because it's anything that can assist an employee, anywhere from therapy, mental therapy, for anybody in their immediate family. But it also are things like, okay, how do we get a house loan? Where can we go if we're wanting to buy our first home? I'm wanting to purchase a RV, and I'm not sure how to start. You can call EAP. They will get you hooked up and say, here's who. This will give you a nice neutral. I need to do a will. I want to do a will. There's a way through the EA program that you can make your own will, a legal will, and they have the forms in there for you. So there are a lot of different things, anywhere to buying tickets to the Kansas City Royals, through the employee assistance program. Every employee plus co-op employees that work in Baldwin are all eligible for that. The district pays a small fee, it's not a very big fee, for them, and we pay for it for everybody that's here, because it's all important that all of them are their best, and so the employee assistance program is there. It is used by a number of employees, but it is not probably used as much. But we continue to try and put the information out there about the different ways it can be used. But I do think that this group is going to try to advertise that and communicate it more, that it's available for every employee. And there's so many different things that they can utilize with it.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks. I'm going to put you on the spot there.
I guess I do have a question, though.
It's okay.
I'm intrigued with the premium reduction. I'm wondering if the waiting until year 2, is that because it puts a heavier load on the district office, or does the premium reduction paperwork for individuals go through Blue Cross Blue Shield?
Yeah, it would put, a heavier load on the district office.
Okay.
Right, in keeping track of those things and.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think that is part of the reason.
Okay. Thanks, Lisa. Last item under new business, opportunity for any data requests. So just put that on there because we're coming up to the end of the year. And I always hear Susan's voice in my head. How do we measure what we do? And that's important. So if there is something in particular that board members would like to know that you don't feel like you've already gotten in some way, I did want to have that there if there's something that would, particularly as it would help finish the strategic plan process, if there's some data that you're looking for. It may already be there. It may just be assistance in bringing it forward again or finding it. It may not be there, and it might be something that we're asking for, but I don't want that to happen in May and not now if there is something. So I did want to bring that forward if anybody had anything. Okay, I have one. So, dun, dun, dun. I would like to have some data, some usage data from our Tutor Me program, since that was new. And maybe there's somewhere that I can find that, and I don't want to create work for anybody, but if we have something, and I don't necessarily need that by the end of the end of this school year, but in terms of guiding how we create resources for students next year, I would certainly like to at least see that maybe before school starts next year. So that was one thing that I was curious about. The other thing, I know this is going to be, I'm just going for it. I know there have been strong feelings about project-based learning. I'm just going to go there. I really would like to know the student impact of project-based learning. And I'm not saying that that has to be done by the end of the school year either, but that is something that the board has chosen to identify as a priority. I'm not running away from that. And I know that there have been, as we bring on anything that's new across the board and establish that expectation, we also understand there's going to be transitions of varying degrees of discomfort about that. And that's okay. We want to support people through that. But what I'm curious about is what kind of educational learning impact from the student's point of view. And I'd like to have a better understanding of how some of our staff who have been a little more, not loving it. I mean, some love it, some don't, and that's to be expected. But I would like to understand some of that better as far as a decision making. And to me, the only way I know how to do that is by looking at some data points, comparisons between the student experience of that. Has it been successful? If it hasn't, why? Because that also can help moving forward for the educators who are, still maybe learning this, what made it work, what made it not work. But if we're going to make it that much of a priority as a board, I would like to have some follow-up information to guide us moving forward so that we also know how to support it. So that was my request. Full disclosure, that was kind of a personal agenda item, but I wanted to open up to anybody else if they had things they would like to see.
Yeah, I'm curious to know like how that might be gathered. Is this like student survey data or interviews of a handful of kids, or do you think? I mean, because technically speaking, not technically, but I guess our ambition was that result would kind of show up in our state assessments to some degree, like moving some of those level 2 kids up to level 3, for instance. Right. So I don't have a strong opinion either way. I'm just thinking this through, like where else could we see that evidence of impact, but also of perception for the students? I think would be helpful to.
I do think perception from students might be important, in a brief survey model. And I don't, it's not my area of particular expertise, but when we talk about prioritizing relationships between staff and students and how important that is, part of that was one of the reasons why we were so drawn to supporting project-based learning, because when done well, it facilitates those relationships. I'm not talking about in a misnomer group project way that people confuse project-based learning, but the relationships even to engage with the materials differently, and how that may affect. And I would venture to say positively. I'd hope, but if it's not positively, we need to hear that too. So I wouldn't have any like tight parameters about what that information, how it's gathered, should or should not look like. People smarter than I should weigh in on that. But I just think having that somehow, revisiting it in some way, other than just saying this is what we're doing, I don't know, waiting for the assessments. It also sometimes takes a little bit too, to manifest that way. And I think there are some folks that, so I just want to support that. But in order for the board to support that, we have to periodically come back and revisit things. So I guess I'm inviting that in a very non-specific, vague way that might have caused more problems than it solves. But
no, I appreciate the request, because it's a great point that this is an effort we've been talking about for years. We're allocating money for it and instructional time for that. And I can just tell you anecdotally that my kids appreciate project-based learning, but I can't tell you whether it's moved the needle on the learning at all. And that's just one little data point on the Perry household versus 1,000 households in the community. So I think it would be really beneficial to have some sort of a metric to, whether it's surveys or surveys plus something else.
And I'm not saying that has to be here. My expectation is not to have some big presentation in May either. I just wanted to bring that up as we're closing out the school year, to be thinking about what kinds of pieces of information might be useful in guiding us moving forward. And for me, somehow taking a look at that other than how it manifests in assessments would be something that I personally would be interested in. But if I'm the only one, that does not a board directive make. So if other board members are not interested in that, that's just as important to say, no, we don't want that. I'm only one person. But that's why I wanted to bring it forward as an agenda item versus sending an email. Can you give us this information? Because it's too big. It's too big of a project to, I think, have a board member just ask for it without the rest of the board saying, yeah, we think that'd be useful, or no, we think you're on one of your tangents again.
Well,
that's fine.
Now you get me excited about this bullet, by the way. So I'm thinking about it more, but, I'm thinking about, theme 4. I think it would, to expand this conversation on data analysis, I think it would be beneficial to know how frequently our facilities are being used currently and by whom, like Parks and Rec, for instance, in terms of how to, part of the conversation about what might we want to do for enhancing soccer fields, for instance, right? Well, how often are they even used currently? What's our capacity for using them going forward there as well? And so if we're opening that data door, I'll jump in there with you. Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay, well, let's think on that some more and we'll come back to it. It's not an assignment. It's just it's an opening of a conversation of things that we might want to look like down the road. Okay? Thank you. Because I can see Miss Jana's wheels are already turning, so I don't want to send anybody.
Still smiling about it.
Yeah, I know. She does. Okay.
We're on facilities though. I've got the academic stuff.
Yeah, well, I think the facilities is going to be taken care of through the architectural project. They have systems for identifying usage rates and all that. That will be part of what they do. Okay. So I think, but thanks for jumping into the deep end of the pool.
Yeah, and
I appreciate that.
Of these catchments of themes here. That's the one I have the most question marks on. But to your item related to where did you go now? Project-based funding is on here somewhere. I'm looking at original and the survey. Anyway, that data piece lines up to our themes we're shooting for. So it'd be helpful to serve as a benchmark for us moving forward too.
Totally. Okay. Thanks for listening. Board member input, co-op report.
There. All right. A couple items for you, and Tony can jump into. I'm going to pass this around. This is what I meant to bring back in January or February, but I forgot. I'll save that conversation for last year. It's a fun one. The staffing issues continue to be an issue, especially with paraprofessionals here. We're also experiencing a number of resignations for some really specialized positions like occupational therapists. These are going to be really hard to replace individuals. So they're posted similar to kind of how we started with applying math and science teachers at the secondary level. We started applying all special education certified staff members as well. So I don't know if it affects here yet, but I think we have at least a couple resignations for research from teachers, for instance, that we're receiving no applications for this time. So hopefully things improve, or we have some flexibility from the state now in terms of hiring some folks off certification, which we're going to probably have to continue to do going forward as well. So that's the staffing part of it. I'll continue to keep you updated on that part of it. Strategic planning part of it, we have kind of maybe a month behind this board in terms of how our conversations are progressing there. We have had that initial survey results come back in that conversation. We are having a board retreat, which we've never done it as the co-op, to my knowledge anyway. So we're having that. One of the board members in Wellsville, her family owns the cafe down in Wellsville, so she's hosting us down there at the cafe and getting some food catering in there for that. And that'll be an open meeting for anybody who wants to attend to help overhear those conversations, but also add into those conversations as well. So we're hoping to have that strategic plan, kind of similar timeline that we're talking about today. Hopefully by July 1st, we'll have things resolved and set in place and start allocating resources to accomplish those things. All right, the last one is what you have a paper on. This is in relation to state level special education funding. I know I've talked about it before. I talked about it without the visual here. But Dan Ray, our director down there, had done the math on how much it impacts our budgets directly because the state is not fully funding special education. That figure for Baldwin is $458,000 per year that they're underfunding. And that comes out of our general fund. So just thinking of all of the amazing things that we could do with that additional money if the state were to further level of obligation towards special education funding and their students at large. And again, special education students are gen ed students and all students as well. So I think that's a very salient number for us to remember and communicate that out to our community at large, that if our legislature were to do the job that they said they were supposed to do in the first place, they set the statute, they don't follow the statute, and how that impacts our local taxpayers and our community at large here as well. And so in that light, Dan Ray has scripted a letter out that we're requesting the superintendents of our 3 districts to sign and send off to Laura Kelly, and and most likely the legislature at large as well. I think Eudora and our district are sending a letter. And the Johnson County Schools is something very similar to that as well, about a week ago. So we're following suit with that good idea. The legislature is back in session, I think, as of yesterday or today, I guess. And so hopefully they still continue to take that topic of discussion. And that fully funding special education is the position of their state board of education, our governor, but it has not gotten enough buy-in from our legislators at large. So if you got any friends up there, tell me. Make a call to advocate for that funding, because it impacts all of our kids in their programs. And am I leaving anything out?
No, I think you did an excellent job summarizing that. I would add that most of our local legislators in this area are very supportive of education funding, and so we are lucky to be in an area of the state where we have legislators that understand the importance of this funding. It is, unfortunately, other areas of the state that have legislators that are not responding.
Yeah.
And you're right. They set the legislation, and then they don't fund it. And politicians are famous for doing that. So all we can do is talk to them and try to get their attention. And sending this letter, I think, is a step in the right direction.
Yeah. Thank you. Miscellaneous. We had our final District Site Council meeting tonight at 5:30. So it was the last meeting of this 6-year accreditation, so as what it turned out to be for us. I thought it was 5, and I was corrected, it was 6. Mr. Dorothy and I thanked all the people who have given 6 years of their life to District Site Council. And the new cycle will begin next school year, along with our new KISA cycle. But I did want it to, the outside visiting team came in February, and our expectation is that the recommendation to be accredited will be on the May agenda for the State Board of Education. But Jana, remember the thing I asked you to tell them? I really wanted the rest of the board and the public at large to hear, because they're given, the outside visiting team provides feedback, and there were a couple of particular things that were really complimentary about our staff that I wanted to make sure everyone got a chance to hear.
So that we strive to meet the fidelity of the KISA process, that we took the process seriously, felt by the team that the district worked to improve during the 5-year process, and we're very responsive to working through the KISA process and meeting with the teams, and wanting to improve. And let's see, one of our strengths was that one clear area of strength for the district was its willingness to continually reflect on what's working and what needed to change. So, the final quote, that one?
Yes.
Okay, so then the final quote that the outside visiting team put in our report that goes to the State Department is, as one teacher said as our visit ended, we do this for the students, improving their lives. Mm-hmm. So that's why you're all here too. Thank you.
Yeah, that was kind of a mic drop moment. So I wanted to make sure that everybody got a chance to hear that, because folks work extremely hard, and that was a nice form of feedback, and a very, very important part of what we have to do, which is to remain accredited. And there's a lot of work that goes in on that is collaborated from top to bottom. And so I want to make sure that we thank everybody for all the work that's done on that, so that we can have our district continue to be in good standing. So thank you all for that. The only other miscellaneous thing, we'll follow up with email, but Tammy Estes sent out an email to everyone asking for your RSVP to graduation. So I want to make sure and remind you all of that, so you can say yes or no, but I'll need to know that too, so we can figure out who's doing what. So we don't have to hash it all out now necessarily. I was going to, but I'm also leery of the hour. I know it's getting late. Just on a quick thing, is there anyone here for sure who definitely wants to participate in graduation? Because I can, I'm assuming you would want to, yeah. Phil, Andy for sure,
I probably will.
Chris, Kelly, okay.
Does this mean you're communicating this to Tammy, or should I?
Yeah, I will. I was not going to, and I'm like, no, it'll take 2 more seconds, whatever. Tony, Susan?
I wanted to go down that I want to, but I
Okay.
can't.
Okay,
Okay?
got
You
it.
said, does anyone want to?
I will,
Want to?
okay, I will relay that you wanted to but couldn't. Mr. Brown? Okay, all right, got it.
After I turn down the opportunity.
Right? It's a happy occasion,
Can
but
ask a silly
I claim the S's.
Does that make it an open meeting?
I don't think they apply that for graduation, do they?
No.
Because we've always had.
Because they're not conducting any business.
Megan went on coma alert.
Not be in attendance.
Okay, I will relay that information, then you guys don't have to worry about it. Okay, I'll get a hold of Tammy.
Thank you.
Yeah, superintendent's report.
Just a couple things. This past week, we received news that our ESSER 3 grant was accepted and approved by the State Board of Education. So that will bring in, over the next 2 years, about $947,000. Specifically, has to be related to COVID or catch up academically for kids from the pandemic. So that was a good thing. That was a process to get through, and a lot of people did a lot of work to get that done. The other thing was piggybacking on what we talked about in District Side Council. The OVT did come in February. That went very well, as we reported there. We had really hoped that this month we would get news on our accreditation. It got held pushed off, and now it'll be at the May State Board of Education meeting. I am fully confident that it is important, or that we will be fully accredited at that meeting. I did want to say, because I was asked this, a good question in District Site Council about why is it important to be accredited. We say that it's our deal. Why is that important? Well, other than there's prestige involved with being an accredited school district, that's not easy. There's lots of things that go into getting accredited. So it takes quite a bit to get there, and it takes everybody involved, all staff, to help us get accredited. But it has to do, there are a number of things, but one big one is that graduates from an accredited school district are able to get automatic admissions to Regents colleges. So it's important to do that. That would not per se a Baker University necessarily, but it does get you into KU, K-State, Emporia State, any of the Regents universities being from an accredited school. It does also open you up for some other scholarship kind of things. It opens you up for licensing for your staff. It assures that you have licensed staff, being an accredited. So there are some things of why it is important to be accredited. Not being accredited is definitely not a good thing. You're not doing the right things for your kids, basically, if you're not getting yourself accredited. So it is important. With that, I will say I'm done.
Yay on the ESSER 3. Big deal. Thank you, everybody who worked so hard on that. Does anyone have any other executive session matters they would like to? I feel like we were finished on round 1. Okay. So we have some motions to go to. I'll do the first one. I move that we appoint a KSB representative to conduct an appeal hearing of a student matter. That's my motion. Of student suspension matter, excuse me.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries 7-0. I move we approve the 2 resolutions as presented.
Second.
I moved, Chris seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your right hand. Aye. Motion carries 7-0. There's another one there if somebody wants to do it. Regarding the personnel report.
I move that we accept the personnel report as presented.
Chris moved and Tony seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Just one more.
Motion.
Is everybody aware they need to stop at Megan and say on their way?
Yes.
Signatures.
Yes. Yes. Sorry, I messed my mojo. Vote if you want this to end. Yes. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned 8:57. Please stop by the table to sign some paperwork that our board clerk has for us. Thank you.
I'll see you in the morning.